Okay, hi everyone. Good evening or afternoon. I think it's evening now. Thank you very much for joining what is called the PERMA Psychosocial Program. So my name is Miss Nandi Nchangase, as you can see on your slides. I'm a counseling psychologist by profession and a student counselor at the College of Health Science. So just for the sake of being able to go through the session without being distracted by watching myself at the same time, can I request to just close the video and you can just listen to my voice? Just as also a ground rule for the session, it's important for you to know that this program consists of 6 series, okay? Consists of 6 series, if you can see on the second slide here. One is called the Positive Emotion series, which is the one that we will be delving into today. And then the other one, what does positive emotion focus on? If you'd notice, I think, let me just first name them all and then I'll explain what each cover. Then there's engagement, which will take place the following Thursday. And then there's relationships, meaning making, but you can call them meaning. And then there's accomplishment as well as health and wellness. But just for the sake of cutting the word short, I decided to take out the name wellness. So each of these series will be, you'll notice that they'll be tackling a certain element towards your personal growth. It will be trying to help you enhance a certain element about yourself or within you so that you are able to grow in a more positive sense. For instance, positive emotions, this is where we will be discussing more about how positive emotions are able to help with your mental health, how you can be able to use both negative and positive emotions to your advantage, more especially if you're able to take note of your strengths. Because I'll explain later why it's so important, because I'm sure by now you're still wondering, okay, why is this so important? And then with engagement, I'm sure you would have noticed, whether it's through observing other people or even through just observing your own self, due to different personality types or different experiences, good or bad, it is we every now and again, in most cases, I'd say at some point in one's life, unless if you're naturally an extrovert and maybe you grew up in an environment that was able to allow you to freely express yourself regardless of how you felt. But for majority of people, it is a struggle to be able to engage freely and be able to think more positively about themselves without having to bother about certain possible mistakes they could make, or having to be concerned about what other people portray or have as strengths compared to themselves, which is what we would call where we would name or label a person as somewhat coming across with some feelings of insecurity, right? Okay, I have noted your message, but can I just take time to first go through explaining the session and then I'll respond to you. Thank you. Okay, let me continue with the session. And then there's positive relationships. And again, relationships are different. I think the most common reason why we engage in relationships, because most particularly those relationships that we decide to get ourselves in, whether it's friendships, intimate relationships, and so forth, or normally the main reason why we'd even get into them is because we would have noted something that could be able to fulfill our needs, right? And this goes both ways. Both parties would have taken a decision to create and build and maintain a certain relationship for that reason. Now, what you'll be learning in that session is, how do you then find a way to continue to maintain and sustain that relationships? Because relationships are so important. A lot of, I think, everything that you see around you, even with yourself alone, as an individual, you exist because there was a relationship first. Everything around you, both successful and unsuccessful, what has been put together somewhat because there was a certain common goal. There were two parties or more that decided we need to do something to try and make something work, right? So in this session, we will be looking at how can you be able to have a positive interpersonal relationship with yourself in order for you to be able to have a healthy, sustainable relationship with another person. And there we'll be looking at things like boundaries, we'll be looking at things like the different aspects that you can take into consideration when you are approaching relationships. Then meaning making, this would normally be something that one would start being mindful of when they're in a period of either deciding which career to take, or if there's some kind of a devastating disappointment that occurs in their lives. Maybe there's an experience of losing a loved one, or losing a job, or having to change degree, those kinds of devastating experiences that are beyond one's control. Normally, that is when you'd start going back to the drawing board of what's the whole what's my purpose in life? Why am I existing? What is it that I can contribute with in this world? And normally whenever one is experiencing certain challenges, they'll ask themselves in a negative way of, is there anything that I'm experiencing, that I'm contributing in, or I'm just failing, right? That's how normally when a person is experiencing negative experiences, they'll tend to think, right? But with PERMA, that's why I actually enjoy having to psychoeducate coming from an approach of utilizing the PERMA model, because it actually teaches you how to see everything, including challenges, including your own weaknesses, in a positive way. It helps you to look at how can you, being shy, for example, how can you use that to your advantage? How can you use anxiety to your advantage? How can you use you being socially withdrawn and you having to go through a breakup or having to change a career? How can you use all of those things to work in your favor? That's what PERMA is about. Accomplishment, if we look at the last two, accomplishment, normally you'll find that especially if you're maybe due to some kind of experience in life, you ended up not quite having any positive emotions around whatever that you're doing. Maybe you have no meaning around the career that you're doing, or you're just numb about things, about achievements, or just about your life. Then accomplishment will teach you. This session will teach you how to be mindful of not just the large accomplishment. Also, I think with the accomplishment part is, and a lot of us would have grown up in a home where you needed to do something big for you to be accepted or feel accepted, rather, because some acceptance or level of rejection cannot, sometimes it's you'll find that it's not a reality, but rather it's a subjective point. So either you were literally not accepted, or it was a feeling that you got through your own experience. So this session allows you to find a way to celebrate and recognize and be mindful of all the small little achievements, growth, skills that you are developing in the process. It's to help you be able to be mindful of them and celebrate them, especially if you're going through a process of currently maybe things are not going your way, your marks are not really satisfying to you, so this session definitely will help you see beyond just objective achievement, but also subjective achievement. And then there's health and wellness. Health and wellness will be looking at how can you go about improving in your level of self-care, in your level of nurturing yourself, so that, because if you're able to fill your cup up, you're able to then pour into other people. So can you see how each of these elements are basically, in their own differences, there's also a linkage, and this linkage is helping you work towards a holistic wellness, right? It's helping you to work towards a holistic self-wellness, so that you are able to have a healthy relationship with yourself, and also pour that relationship towards other people. So before we get on to today's session, I'm interested in knowing what, with today's experience alone, I'm interested in knowing what moment made you smile today. If you just try to think about how your day has unfolded from morning, from the time you woke up to the time you either took a bus or drove to campus, or maybe you had to go to work, you didn't have classes. What made you smile? Is there anything, or should I pick a name? Let's see. Mary. Sorry, I saw your name first. I'm interested in knowing what made you smile today?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. What made me smile today is that it's been about 2 months. I'm doing my data collection at the moment. So it's been 2 months since I spoke to my supervisor, but today we had time to go through what's happening. And we were trying to find other strategies to go about the data collection because it hasn't been going the way I was expecting it to go. So that made me smile today.
Wow. I wish I could see my emoticon so that I can send clapping hands.
Yeah, it
Wonderful.
was
Well,
quite a relief. Yeah,
well done. Well done, Mary.
thank
Does
you.
anyone else would like to share? What made you smile today? Just out of interest, Mary, were you thinking, did you, at any point, did you realize that this was one experience that made your day today? At any point, did you think about that?
No, I didn't really think about it, but it made my day.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. Maybe I'll just take two more people, then we'll move on. Um, Shania.
Hi everyone. For
Hi.
me, it's just a simple thing, but it was actually eating my lunch that my mom had packed for me this morning.
Oh, nice, wonderful. What did it make you think of?
It just made me feel so grateful to know that I still have my mom around, and simple thing like having lunch, just to be fortunate about the little things in life.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. Okay. I think we'll just move on from them. So I do encourage, as you would have already noticed, I do encourage participation. We had to engage. This is just a general sense of what PERMA is about. It's a model that stems from a psychology approach called positive psychology. You can always go and read up on that. So you will see towards as we are going through the session why I think out of all the approaches, in as much as I do see their importance, um, but I think with positive psychology, where I see the benefit is it helps one instead of wallowing, if for lack of a better word, over negative things or negative past experiences, or whatever that didn't go right on that day. It rather says, hey, look, just stop and think about what could go well or what did go well within that experience. Yes, you would have gotten, say, 40% below average, but also, have you not stopped and thought, at least I know 40% of the work. So that means I need to give myself that credit for knowing something and then work towards a higher mark. But rather, instead of saying, I don't know anything, or oh, I'm such a failure. You see where PERMA, it makes so much difference, I think, especially in this world where we struggle so much with negative emotions, overthinking, insecurity, you name it. It's I think especially in a time where there's just a high level of urgency culture. You need to submit this now, you need to do this, you need to meet up with a friend and call you. So it's like you need to focus on your academic work, your work if you're also working part-time, family issues, personal issues, and you need to catch up with people, call them how they're doing, because your friend is now suddenly realizing that you're so distant. Everything is just, I need to keep up, I need to keep up, I need to keep up. So if you could just stop for a moment and start looking at everything from a positive space and be mindful of that, and just absorb that energy every now and then, it could make so much difference. So with, of course, the request of everyone being engaging, I would like to emphasize the requirement to have mutual respect for everyone, and just keep an open mind, non-judgmental approach. Yes, we're all here to learn from one another, right? So with this program, with everything also that I've mentioned, things that you can definitely expect to grow from, or to start seeing as a difference in your own personal lives, is it will help you possibly decrease level of depression or anxiety symptoms, have also possibly increase life satisfaction, and also you will get as much knowledge as you can about what PERMA is about, right? I think you already have received that knowledge. So in case even up to now, maybe there's still some kind of questions of, okay, I see that it helps with the positive emotions, or it helps alleviate anxiety and depression, but what else? Or why is it that important? Because maybe it just only has to do with shifting one's mindset. But because there's so much experiences that as a student you could possibly go through, PERMA does further assist with offering social support to an individual. Also, it can have a level of assisting students improve improve on their mental health, in terms of their level of, in case the student is experiencing some sense of suicidal thoughts, or there might be some sense of having panic anxiety. It can help improve or heal the student from their own past childhood traumas. Actually, with the PERMA approach, or rather with the positive psychology approach, because PERMA stems from positive psychology, right? With the positive psychology approach, research has considered it to be one amongst other theoretical approaches that are best suited to be able to help heal trauma survivors of sexual abuse, or childhood sexual abuse, or even sexual abuse that would have happened in their recent adulthood years. So it will be positive psychology along with other theoretical approaches that are more solution-based. Those approaches have been founded to be the ones that are most impactful. Okay, so it also increases level of substance abuse. If you're someone who maybe would have been struggling with some form of addiction, or a need to fill a certain void, and also it helps to improve one's health, physical health, because we will be delving into how you can be able to change your daily habits into healthy daily habits. And I know how easy it is as a student to fall into the trap of customizing yourself into unhealthy habits, especially if there's little time. All that you do is maybe just go into bed and sleep, and take a long nap, get up, buy takeouts, maybe you cook once, all those types of things. Maybe the face facial care routine, you end up doing it once after 2 weeks or a month or whatever, because there's just such a high demanding need for you to be able to submit something on a certain date and so forth. So I understand how difficult it can be, but I think what we're going to learn is to start doing things more intentionally, right? That's what I would like for you to do. So in each session, I'll be giving you homeworks so that the next time when we do meet, you'll have to make sure you implement those homeworks for a week until the next Thursday, and then make sure that you really implement and you commit to that homework. I will pass through explaining why support groups important, because I think in as much as they are different from individual sessions, they are just as important because they help when a person still thinks they are the only ones going through a problem. It's easier if they are with a group of people, because at least the more they listen to other people talking, then they'll realize actually they are not the only ones, or their problems are easier resolvable than they thought they were. Because when you are attending an individual session, if you ever have, a therapist doesn't quite share as much about their own personal lives, or I think the normal stereotype I've heard about psychologists is they'll actually just look at you and wait for you to talk about, to basically talk throughout the whole session. But yeah, essentially having to engage in a group setup does have its own benefits. So you'll watch, I'll play this video where you listen to the man behind the positive psychology theory himself explaining why positive psychology is just as important, right? Also, I think in addition to that, of which it's what he'll also speak into, is that often when I think often with different therapists, if you go into a therapy session, especially first session, most likely the approach or the focus will be on all the negative things that you are experiencing, that you would have experienced in the past, of which that is a good approach. There's nothing wrong. Yes, of course, we are meant to be picking into what is wrong and what didn't go right, and what are you fearful of, and so forth and so forth. But it can sometimes take a longer period until one taps into the point of actually now starting to accept all these negative experiences. Depends on how quick is the process or the individual process, right? And so often individual therapy is non-directive, if I may call it that way. There's no pressure to like, there's no imposing, there's no pressure to start thinking a certain way. If you're not there yet, you're not there yet. So it allows you that process of seeing yourself go through the dark period until you see your way out and so forth, right? So the difference with this group session is that it will will help you to see the negative things, but also be able to see them in a positive way. I think that's what positive psychology is. That's what makes it different. So let's listen to the video of a man called Fredrickson. Let's listen. Sorry, just let me know if you're not. Please let me know if you're not able to hear. And also, sorry, I made a mistake and called him Fredrickson. It's actually Martin Seligman. Let me know if you're not able to hear. I'll replay the video.
There is no audio.
There's no audio.
Yes.
Okay, no, thank you for letting me know. I think let's move past the video. I think everything that he was going to explain is something that I've already explained here, right? And I've also mentioned that who of you, but I don't expect any of you to know this man. Anyone who's done psychology from first year, they definitely know him. His name is Freud, right? So Freud is basically the founder, or we call him the father of psychology. He was the one who even noticed that people can be able to heal. There are certain underlying developments that create certain characteristics that allow a person to make certain conscious and unconscious decisions. Have you ever made a certain decision and you're like, I don't even know why I did that? Who's ever had that moment?
I did. I know I can relate.
Yeah. So Freud basically he founded psychology, and he explained really well, in such a way that a lot of other psychologists that came after him, they adopted his school of thought. The difference with Freud is that he focused so much on the negative emotions, right? And therefore other theoretical approaches like Martin Seligman, they started looking at positive approach. Now, there was a research that was done through positive psychology, which was trying to ascertain why is it that certain groups of people, they would, especially if they're experiencing certain negative, or rather experiences where they had to endure a certain way of living, or I think a certain way of living, and could easily and they found that they could easily adapt to that lifestyle. So they wanted to know what made them endure such, what made them different from another person who just easily give up, and so forth. So the group that the researcher went into investigating further was, in this case, the nuns who were living in a convent. And the responses of the nuns, they found that the nuns were actually, their responses of why were they in this certain environment and happy in this environment, and not that it was a negative environment, but rather the experience of not living in your home with the comfort of your own family, and you know, having to, if you know the lives of nuns, you'd understand that they have to, I'm not sure if nuns nowadays can work and get actual pay from working, but they would rely on church contribution. You know, there's in as much as their lives are not as difficult, but the life choices that constantly require them to keep adjusting, they are the ones that they found to be quite mind capturing. They are the ones they wanted to figure out why, because often you'll find that people struggle with situations, not because sometimes the situations are that difficult, or not because there is no possibility to get through a certain challenge, but there is low or limited level of being adaptable. That's why you'll find someone, maybe, if I'm just making an example, they're in a certain maybe they have a plan A to get into a certain career field, and then that career field somehow doesn't work, and they totally give up, and you know, start feeling hopeless and like life is meaningless and so forth. Whilst you find other people who will have that same plan A, also not do well, but they'll find a plan B that will still be somehow linked to plan A, which will be a win-win situation for them. So why do we need positive emotions? Positive emotions help one to stay present in the now. Because the reason why people even struggle from mental health issues like depression and anxiety, depression, it's when you're overthinking about the past, whereas anxiety, it's when you are overthinking about the future. Now, the main goal is to try and be present and minimize thinking too much about the past or too much about the future, but rather find, even if it's 10 minutes, that 10 minutes where you just sit and you absorb just one moment that has made you feel grateful for the day, which is why I made you guys answer or think of what moment made you smile today. So that's the one benefit of positive emotions, right? Which will help you become relaxed. It brings a sense of cheerfulness, brings a sense of joy, enjoyment of what you're doing, and sense of peace and contentment with what you have. So in you having to intentionally practice positive emotions, it would have to mean that whenever you get to a point where you think about the past, try to find lessons that you learned. So let's say you are just sitting alone in your couch, it's a Sunday, and then suddenly that negative thought starts erupting, and suddenly you go deep into the deep dark hole of thinking about the past mistakes you've done, or the past trauma that you've gone through, and then just stop for a moment and realize where you are. Realize and think about the couch you're in. Embrace that you are sitting on the couch, you're drinking your coffee. Embrace that you are in this age or this level of growth that you are in, and which means you have been able to, that whatever challenge that you would have encountered has helped you increase in your level of possibly being disciplined, because once you realize that you made a certain mistake, then you told yourself that next time you will do better, right? So next time you get yourself in a mode of thinking negatively, whenever, for you to practice positive emotion in a more meaningful and intentional way, whenever you're thinking about the past, can even have a diary for those of you who have diaries, or you can video or audio record yourself, where you basically speak to yourself and intentionally speak about the positive things that you have learned from that past. And then for the future, it will help you become more optimistic, more faithful, more trusting of yourself. Because I can imagine how, if ever you are going through a moment of feeling guilt and shame, most likely can get you to a point where you feel like you can't trust yourself in future. So I'm going on and on about possible scenarios here because it's just me having to also put context to what I'm trying to get to be clear to you guys. But I know for sure that on your own, wherever you are reflecting back into bits and pieces of your own experiences, and you are also picking out where each of these mini teachings could possibly help you. Also remember that with positive emotions, it is good, it is better. Yes, it's possible that you can start building them during a moment where you are now encountering a problem, but most often it's more helpful if you work from the moment where there's no problem. That's why, for example, that's why they say summer bodies are built in winter. It's just an example. You basically you intentionally work on yourself, just like how you work on yourself physically outwardly. The same applies internally. You work on yourself even when there's no problem, even when your life is just peaceful. You try and store up on positive things about yourself. You notice those little things. You notice, oh, today I actually handled a conflict better than I would have in my previous life. All of those things. So why is it important? So that should ever you encounter a certain problem, then it's your brain is already used to reverting back and checking on all this positive these positive experiences that you've built on for yourself. So create something like a compendium where you can go back and search, where have I ever been good? You know, it's the same as if you're someone who struggles to you fearful of being seen as a failure, you know. Remember that there are moments where you have been good at some point, you have been successful at some point. So if you go through a certain experience that will require you to step back, maybe take a leave or look after your mental health, it doesn't minimize or erase all these other positive things that you've collected in your life. So for today's homework or activity, right? Okay, as a homework, I still want you guys to think about what made you every day on a daily basis. Make it a point that at the end of every day, before you go to bed, you write down at least one thing that's made you smile. Okay, that's The one, are we all good with that? Thumbs up if you're good. Every day you write what made you smile. Or what moment just, yes, I think made you smile is perfect. That's an everyday homework. And then another thing that I want you guys to also look into is this. So it's easy to think about what made you smile or what life-changing moment occurred to you on a daily, but to also add on to seeing what difference are you making in other people's lives, right? What's important is for you to take note of what are your strengths. So easy to focus on what you're not good at, right? Because mainly, you know, just like if a car breaks down, a driver will not think about, oh, but this car is still new. This car is still, you know, it's my favorite car. Therefore, it will be able to travel on the road and so forth. But rather, the driver is more concerned about this car is not working. Therefore, I need to go and fix it. I think as human beings, it's so easy for us to also focus on, oh my gosh, this thing is not working. Oh my gosh, I'm so good at social skills. Or, oh my gosh, I'm so I'm so bad at social skills. Or I'm so bad at conflict management. You name it, right? Especially if something reminds you that actually that's your weakness, which could easily make us end up forgetting what we are really, really actually good at. Because when you remember what you're good at, it will help you be able to maneuver or navigate your way around difficult situations, right? For instance, with humor. With humor, let's say you lose a loved one. Humor can play a good part in helping you not overly think negatively about that situation, right? Maybe it's a relationship breakup. So that's where having to be aware of your skills help. So I have with me this worksheet where it consists of a variety of different strengths. And I would like for you to pick at least 3 strengths that you think you have. And try to think of where have they helped you in your own life. Maybe you're someone who's you've always known yourself to be optimistic or rather passionate. And you've realized that even when you have failed at some things, but because of your sense or your character of being passionate, you're able to still keep going forward. And that as a result is what's helping you become resilient. So think of 3 things, three strengths that you know yourself to have, and other people have even complimented you on having them. Does anyone would like to report back on what are their strengths and how have they helped them? Anyone? Okay, let's see.
Can I go?
Oh, yes, Mangen, yes.
Okay, I can go first.
Oh, all right, yes.
So I'm very forgiving.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that really works for me because I don't keep grudges. I may not forget it done to me, but it's very easy for me to just overlook something and continue to survive. So I think that's a strength because I've seen how being hurt and angry really impacts you negatively.
Mm.
And then another one would be, I'd like to believe that I'm very independent.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I also would love to believe that no, I'm not kind, I'm actually honest. Yeah, those are my three.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Nolaz. I think there was someone else who wanted to go.
Yes, it was me.
Okay. Mange.
I think my first one will be love for learning. I think it is the love for learning that I was able to get through my masters, and that's why I started my PhD. It also, the love of learning also helps one read more and outside the area of expertise.
Mhm.
So yeah. The next one can be humor. I think I do have a good sense of humor. Um, this has allowed me to actually, start conversation with people and actually, build relationships.
Nice.
And the other one, I would say, kindness. Yeah, I think I am kind. I think those are my three. Thanks.
Nice. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies. Anyone else would like to go? Let's see. Let's have a male now. Any males in the session? Bonga. I don't know. Maybe. Sorry, it's just that I'm seeing many neutral names.
Afternoon, everyone. I am
Oh,
a female.
Hi.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Oh,
You can go, Sbonga.
okay. I am very shy. So one of the three strengths that I've identified is independence. I would consider myself a very independent person. I mean, compared to my sisters, I'm always called the independent one. Optimism. Always optimistic. I love to see the bright side of things. I just love to keep everything positive and see the brighter side of things because everything is so depressing nowadays, and I just can't deal with that. And apparently, I've been called kind and patient. So yeah, but I don't want to be like to my own horn or stuff like that. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, can I just I'm seeing this message from Violet AI note taking. Please don't click on this link. I don't trust it because not been verified. I wasn't even aware that we had someone in the session who was sending this. Please just be mindful of that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if they are, thank you very much for sharing your wonderful strengths, even with your day, what made you have a good moment today. I hope that with the with the homework for this week up until, I hope that we'll meet again on Thursday, same time for the engagement session. But also I'm looking forward to knowing how were you able to experience having to, on a daily, either you journal or you write it on a notepad and you stick it somewhere, a sticky note and you stick it somewhere on how you experienced your day, as well as focusing on, which is the second task, focusing on your strengths. How have they worked for you? What difficult situations have you been through and you realize that they worked for you? Even not even difficult situations, but how have they been generally working for you, as you ladies have already started sharing? So I'm looking forward to hearing all the good news about how these exercises actually helped you go about during your week. What differences did you notice? Please be mindful also of what differences around you did you notice, even in the way you engage with other people, the way you think of yourself. Taking a moment, if, in case you had taking a moment and just embracing your body, embracing your looks, telling yourself how beautiful, how handsome you are. Those kind of things. Just be mindful. Okay, so thank you very much for joining. We have come to the end of the session. Please do evaluate the impact of this particular series, the PERMA one. You'll notice that I have inserted a link, right? Yeah. And also, you'll notice, so with the, I'll also try to insert the link on, or the recording of these sessions on YouTube. I know that the university has its YouTube. I'm not sure. Are you ladies? Let's first stop recording. Let's stop recording so that we can speak about maybe moving forward how